You ever seen someone get dragged out of a courtroom like yesterday's, trash right in front of a room full of adults too afraid to even blink? Because that's exactly what happened the morning they tried to break Zion Mercer. Sometimes I wonder what people really believe justice looks like. Does it wear a robe, hold a gavel, or is it just a set of hands grabbing a kid by the arm so tight he can't breathe? Yeah, that happened. And what the man dragging him didn't know what nobody in that courthouse knew was who Zion's mother really was. It started just after sunrise, with Zion stepping into the courthouse like he'd rehearsed it clothes pressed the night before, shoes so worn you could see where his mom once patched the soles with fabric glue. He didn't look up, not once. Not at the security guard, not at the old women whispering behind programs. He just kept his eyes on the cracked, white tile, each line a stitch trying to hold together something that's been broken too long. And right then, across the room, Lieutenant Gavin Holt, the local legend, the kind of guy who walks like every floorboard owes him respect, locked in on Zion like he'd been waiting all week for this moment. Gavin didn't need to ask for Zion's name, didn't need to see a badge or a record, because for men like him, all it takes is a glance, a little curve in the back, a face he's decided he already knows. So when the judge came in, when everyone stood up, Gavin just leaned into his ritual, standing over Zion, voice low but sharp. Stand up. Zion's hands were steady, but you could tell he was counting his breaths, refusing to let a single tremor show. Then Gavin's voice dropped even lower. I told you to stand up. You could cut the tension with a butter knife. Zion looked him dead in the eye. Your eyes see nothing but skin color, don't they? For a second, even the judge stopped flipping pages. And then, like justice had left the building, Gavin yanked Zion up, so hard his shoulder twisted and his shirt collar slipped, showing a bruise that should have faded years ago. The judge said nothing, nobody moved, and Gavin dragged Zion out. Not like a person, but like an object, chairs scraping across tile, everyone staring at their phones or pretending not to see. The handcuffs snapped on so loud you'd swear the whole building should have shook, but all you heard was the quiet hum of the AC, the soft breaths of people used to this scene. Gavin shoved Zion onto a cold bench by the window, ordered him not to speak, and turned his back, writing up papers that'd mean nothing but trouble. Nearby, Duke Morgan, another officer, pretended to play on his phone, half watching. Zion, he could have lost it, could have begged or barked back, but all he did was whisper, just loud enough for Duke to hear. Do I look like I'm talking? That's the thing about kids like Zion. They learn early that sometimes silence is louder than a scream. But Gavin wasn't done. He walked up, bent down till his face was inches from Zion, and spat out. You think you're better than anyone in this court? You think your face is clean enough to preach to me? Zion just breathed out slow, repeated himself, this time for everyone to hear. For you, skin color must be the first reason to be jailed, right? Even Duke tried to step in. He knows to shut up now. No need to get closer, but Gavin lingered, pressing his knee into Zion's back just enough to let him know no one was coming to help. Thing is, someone was coming. Because as Gavin and Duke led Zion down the hallway, toward the intake desk, people pretending not to see, a little boy clutching his grandma's hand and watching all someone else's footsteps started echoing down the hall, sharper than anything that had come before. Reagan Cross, Zion's mother. You know that moment in a movie where you feel the tide turn before anyone says a word? This was it. Reagan didn't raise her voice, didn't even look angry. She just held up a cardone with federal clearance stamped in the center, the kind that makes even hard men like Gavin blink. Remove the cuffs, she said, and every syllable landed like a gavel. Gavin tried to play it off. Who are you? This isn't a place for family to give orders. But Reagan didn't flinch. You don't need to know why I'm here. Remove the cuffs. Now. The air went heavy, no one breathing. Duke's hand twitching near his phone, unsure if he was about to become the story or just another bystander. Reagan stared down Gavin, then Duke, then finally at her son, who sat straight as an arrow, not broken, just waiting. Gavin, for the first time all morning, looked unsure. He let go of Zion's shoulder, the authority in the room quietly shifting. She unlocked the cuffs herself, sleek, matte black keys, not the kind you find on any local officer's ring, and as she did, she looked at her son, just asking quietly, "Does it hurt?" Zion nodded, Honest as daylight, no drama. Then Reagan turned to Duke. Are you planning to send that video? He shook his head, but she was already pulling up a backup copy on her own phone. No need. I already have it. What you send just shows how far you're willing to go for a performance. And that's when it hit Gavin. This wasn't just some angry mother, this was someone with power, with receipts, with every step mapped out before he ever laid hands on Zion. He started to protest, mumbling about federal authority and state courts, but Reagan cut him off cold. But I have the right to reclaim my son when you're committing a federal crime right in front of me. It was like someone hit pause on the world. Gavin backed down, not out of respect, but because he knew a losing battle when he saw one. From there, everything moved like clockwork. Reagan walked Zion out, no fanfare, just a mother leading her son through a crowd of people who'd learned a little too late what real courage looks like. Gavin stood frozen, file folder in hand, realizing he'd just stepped over a line that couldn't be erased. The silence in the hallway didn't last. Soon, the footage of Zion being dragged shoulder twisted, shirt collar pulled leaked online. Within hours, it racked up 1 million views. Not from activists, not from politicians, but from mothers and fathers and every kid who'd ever been told to keep their head down and not make trouble. Then came the hearings. Gavin, for all his bravado, couldn't out-talk the cameras. Every move, every tight cuff, every word he spat landed on a screen the whole state could watch. Reagan sat calm, presenting files no one knew existed, old complaints, internal warnings about racial bias, even a report from the CIA's own evaluation, stating Gavin had a pattern of violence when faced with non-compliant black suspects. He tried to call a witch hunt, tried to claim his system was making him the scapegoat, but this time, nobody was buying it. The twist, though, came from within. A federal investigator produced messages from Duke Morgan's phone texts, ugly and clear, calling black defendants gorillas in suits, mocking the very kids he'd handcuffed. The room fell silent, the wall of silence finally cracking. Malik Andrews, another boy Gavin had roughed up, stood and told his Storino anger, just facts, and for the first time, someone in power apologized. Reagan herself bowed her head. I apologize on behalf of a country that once forced mothers to defend their children against the law. The verdict? Suspension. Referral to federal prosecution. A quiet revolution rippling outward courtrooms, adding cameras, new protocols for handling minors, the police chief resigning with a letter about trust and accountability, and Zion finally able to walk back into school as just another kid. No press, no whispers, just the regular weight of a backpack on his shoulder. People ask, is that justice? Maybe it's not the Hollywood ending we all hope for. Maybe it's just a start. But when you see a whole room of people, judges, officers, even the silent ones forced to pick a side, to witness and acknowledge a truth they tried to ignore, yeah, that's something. Because the real verdict isn't a gavel hitting wood. It's when every kid, no matter what their skin looks like, can walk down a hallway and know they're not alone. So let me ask you, when justice only listens to the loudest voice, what happens to the rest of us? Do you think power should always get the last word? Or is it time for every silent witness to become part of the story, too? Drop your thoughts below. Where do you stand on silence, justice, and what it really means to stand up even when the world's watching?